My name is Evelyn Harper, and on the morning of Saturday, June 14th, I almost murdered my husband with a pair of garden shears. I didn't, of course. Instead I smiled, kissed his cheek, told him the peonies looked perfect on the arch he'd built, and went inside to finish the slideshow that would end his life as he knew it. 312 guests were coming in 9 hours to watch my only son, Julian, marry Sophia Langford, the golden daughter of a federal judge, junior partner at the most prestigious law firm in Charlotte, and, as it turned out, the woman who had been sleeping with my husband for the last 14 months. I knew this because Julian already knew. He had known for 8 weeks. And he had come to me, not screaming, not crying, but with the coldest, calmest voice I'd ever heard from my 28-year-old boy. Mom, I need your help destroying them. Quietly, permanently, and publicly. That was the moment the old Evelyn died in the hydrangeas. Julian and I spent the next 2 months building the perfect bomb. We called it the Slideshow. It was supposed to be a sentimental walk through Julian's life, baby photos, first steps, graduation, the proposal in Paris. What no one knew, except Julian, me, and my sister Valerie, ex-Charlotte PD, now the most expensive private investigator south of D.C., was that at exactly 4:42 p.m., right after the officiant said speak now or forever hold your peace, the screen would go black for 3 full seconds. Then it would light up again. And hell would begin. 1. The morning started the way every perfect southern wedding morning should. 72 degrees, low humidity, the smell of fresh-cut grass and $2,000 worth of imported roses. I was in the kitchen in yoga pants and pearls, because that's what mothers of the groom wear at 6 a.m. when they are pretending everything is fine, sipping coffee and triple-checking the timing on my phone. Valerie texted from the catering van she was helping unload. Valerie, tech rehearsal done. Projector hijacked. Remote in my apron pocket. You still sure? Me, never been more sure of anything in my life. Valerie, then God help them. See you at 4. I deleted the thread, set the phone down, and looked out the window at Richard, my husband of 31 years, laughing with the florist while he adjusted the fairy lights on the very arch where he'd proposed to me in 1993. He looked good for 56. Tanned, silver at the temples, still broad in the shoulders. He also looked like a stranger wearing my husband's skin. Because the man I married would never have drained our retirement account to buy Cartier for a 29-year-old. He would never have forged my signature on pension loans. He would never have fathered a secret child 15 years ago and paid for her private school with money I thought was going into Julian's college fund. But this man had done all of those things. And today he was going to pay for every single one. 2. Julian found me at 7:30 a.m. in the pool house, where I'd hidden the master evidence drive. He was already in his tux pants and white shirt, sleeves rolled up, eyes bloodshot from no sleep. In his hand was a glass of bourbon he absolutely should not have been drinking at that hour. Mom. His voice cracked on the single word. I opened my arms. He walked into them like he was 10 years old again. I keep thinking I'll wake up, he whispered against my shoulder. That this is a nightmare and I'll wake up and she'll just be Sophia. Not whatever she is. I held him tighter. She's a predator. And your father is worse. But in 9 hours the nightmare ends for us, baby. It starts for them. He pulled back, wiped his eyes with the heel of his hand, and gave me the smallest, hardest smile I'd ever seen. Then let's go get dressed. I have a wedding to survive. 3. By 2 p.m. the backyard looked like a magazine. White chairs in perfect rows. String quartet tuning under the live oak. Ice sculptures sweating gracefully in the shade. 300 of Charlotte's most prominent citizens sipping mimosas and pretending they weren't already gossiping about how much this must have cost. I wore champagne silk and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Richard kept trying to touch me, hand on the small of my back, fingers brushing mine when he passed me a drink. Every time he did, I felt my skin crawl. Evie, you're radiant, he murmured at one point, lips close to my ear. Have I told you how proud I am of the day you've created? I turned, kissed his cheek so the photographers could catch it, and whispered back, wait till you see the finale, darling. He laughed like I was joking. 4:05 p.m. The string quartet began Pachelbel's canon. Bridesmaids floated down the aisle in sage green. Flower girl scattered petals like a tiny angel. And then Sophia appeared. She was, objectively, the most beautiful bride I had ever seen. The dress was custom Prenoviers, lace so delicate it looked like spiderwebs made of starlight. Her veil trailed 10 feet behind her. She carried my grandmother's Bible wrapped in the same roses I'd carried 31 years earlier. Halfway down the aisle she looked at Richard, Not at Julian, her groom, and her smile flickered with something private, victorious, filthy. Richard smiled back. I felt Julian's hand tighten on my shoulder from the front row. The officiant, Reverend Paul, who had married Richard and me, began. Dearly beloved. I tuned him out. I was counting heartbeats. 4:41 p.m. Reverend Paul smiled beatifically. If anyone here has just cause why these two should not be joined, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. Silence. A perfect, southern silence filled with birdsong and the clink of ice in crystal glasses. I stood. 300 heads swiveled. Richard hissed, Evelyn, sit down. I did not sit down. I walked, slowly, deliberately, to the front, took the wireless mic from Reverend Paul's trembling hand, and faced the crowd, and said, Thank you all for coming. There is, in fact, a reason this marriage cannot proceed. And since the father of the groom and the bride have been so thorough in documenting their objections to it, I thought we should let them speak for themselves. I nodded toward the tech booth. The lights dimmed. The screen behind the altar, the one meant for baby photos, went black. Richard bolted upright. What the hell? The first image appeared. A crystal clear still, Richard and Sophia, mouths fused, his hand up her skirt, in the wine cellar of the Ballantine Hotel. Timestamp burned in the corner, 02-14 Valentine's Day this year. Gasps rippled like a wave. Then the next photo. And the next. Hotel key cards. Cartier receipts. A sonogram, wait, no, not a sonogram, a DNA test. Probability of paternity, 99.9998%. Child, Chloe Elizabeth Grant, age 15. Father, Richard Alexander Harper. Someone screamed. Sophia went white beneath her veil. Julian stood at the altar, face carved from stone, and finally spoke for the first time all day. Keep going, Mom. Slide after slide. Bank records showing $312,000 drained from our retirement in cash withdrawals. Forged signatures, mine, on pension loans. Text messages. Sophia, can't wait to feel you inside me again, Daddy. Richard, soon baby girl. After the wedding we'll be free. Sophia's mother, Judge Langford, made a sound like a wounded animal. I let it run for 4 full minutes. No commentary needed. The evidence spoke in high definition. When the final slide appeared, a live feed of 2 Charlotte PD detectives walking up the garden path, Sophia finally moved. She looked at Julian, tears ruining her makeup, and whispered, I can explain. Julian's voice cut like a blade. You can explain to the district attorney. You've been embezzling from your firm for 18 months. They are here for you. The detectives reached the altar. Sophia Langford, you're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. She collapsed. Literally. The $10,000 dress pooled around her like melted frosting as the cuffs went on. Richard tried to run. He made it 3 steps before Valerie, still in her catering apron, stuck out a foot and sent him sprawling into the grass. The photographers went feral. Phones were out everywhere. This was going viral before the sun set. Richard scrambled up, face purple. Evelyn, you bitch. Julian stepped between us. Call my mother that again and I'll forget you're my father. Richard looked at his son, really looked, and something like fear flickered in his eyes. Then he ran for real. Jumped the hedge, disappeared toward the parking lot. We later learned he made it as far as South Carolina before the FBI picked him up for interstate flight. Turns out forging federal pension documents is a felony too. 6. The aftermath was. God, the aftermath. The guests didn't leave. They stood frozen, drinks forgotten, watching the bride be led away in handcuffs and the groom stand like a statue while his mother held the mic. I finally spoke again. For 31 years I built a life on lies I didn't know were lies. Today the man I loved had a whole second family 20 minutes away. He used our money to fund it. And the woman my son loved helped him hide it while planning to marry into the ruins. This was never about revenge. This was about truth. And truth, as it turns out, is the sharpest weapon there is. I dropped the mic. Walked to Julian. He hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. And for the first time in 2 months, he cried. 7. Epilogue, 1 year later. Richard is in federal prison. 18 months for fraud, plus restitution he'll never be able to pay. Sophia took a plea, 4 years, disbarred for life. Her parents haven't spoken her name since. Julian sold the big house, couldn't live in it after everything, and bought 40 acres outside Asheville. He designs gardens now, places where things grow honest and wild. He's happy. Valerie's PI firm tripled in size. She only takes cases for women now. Calls it corrective karma. And me. I kept one thing from the wedding. The memory card from the projector. Sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I plug it into my laptop and watch the slideshow again. Not for pain. For proof. Proof that the woman who stood up that day, the one who burned it all down with a smile, is still here. Stronger. Free. And if you ever wonder what happens when a Southern woman who has nothing left to lose decides to take everything back, ask the 312 people who were there. They'll tell you. She doesn't get mad. She gets a projector.